Chapter 1. Why 7 and why now? Let's get something straight. The 7-year number isn't magic, nor is it an absolute. It's not like on your 255th day in the job you suddenly want to fake your own death and flee to a yurting camp in the Bolivian mountains. But research, history, and common sense all point to a cycle of change that often shows up around year 7. In marriage, sociologists started noticing a spike in divorces around year 7 back in the 1950s. Hollywood took it and ran with it. Cue Marilyn Monroe's white dress vent in the street and the beginning of a societal obsession. But step outside the realm of romance and the same cycle appears in everything from careers to personal goals. I personally first noticed it in my early 30s, coincidentally when after the first marriage had reached its natural conclusion, first career had reached natural conclusion, first job of my second career had reached a natural conclusion. ... And on reflection, I realised all these events had a similar theme. A certain timescale to them, if you like. I left grammar school at 18 after my A-levels. I decided, in my wisdom, that instead of going to Dundee University and studying international hospitality management and catering, I'd join the Royal Navy as an officer cadet. I had a great time, and in my opinion, did okay. After all, during the years I was there, I only crashed and nearly sunk one picket boat at Dartmouth, mildly scratched a £3 billion Vanguard-class nuclear submarine when I attempted to help out Trinity House by moving one of their navigation buoys using the aft planes by mistake, and only ever blocked an Admiral's parking space once with the beat-up crew minibus. I passed the training and exams I needed to pass. I obtained my Dolphins, the wetter version of wings that those fancy two-seater sports car driving pilots wear, and I think I did an alright job overall. But guess what? 7 years in, an itch. On to my second career, working in the Big Smoke, London for our international listeners, in recruitment. Why recruitment, I hear you ask? Or maybe I didn't, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Here's the rub. When you're a fully commissioned officer in Her, now His, Majesty's Royal Navy, you don't just get to hand your notice in, go on gardening leave and wait for your next gig to start in a month or two. Nope. You get 12 to 18 month notice period to ponder whether you've made the right decision to give up what is effectively a job for life, assuming you didn't do something either very stupid or very naughty. And in that time you get to meet a lot of recruitment people, both in-house and agents. Having spent an inordinate amount of time talking to these individuals, I decided that A, that's quite a cool job, meeting and getting to know lots of different people every day, hearing about their stories and life expectations, and B, most of them are absolutely appalling at the job. So that's the short version of how I ended up doing what I did. I decided, in my wisdom, that I could do better. And I was good. Very good. How do I know this? Because I still have clients today that I first started dealing with nearly 30 years ago, and 99% of my business comes from referrals. But guess what? If I really analyse those client relationships, when they were popping and when they'd called, yep, you guessed it. Roughly 7-year cycles. So that's a bit of context on how I came to realise the 7-year itch wasn't just about marriage or love. It was about humanity and all our relationships. Here's the pattern. You start something new. A relationship, a job, a gym habit, a city, and in the first few years are full of discovery. You're learning, you're growing, you're challenged. Then things plateau. Comfort sets in. Routines calcify. And suddenly, one day, you look around and think, is this still me? Now, some people will come to the conclusion that actually, yes, this is still me. And you know what? I think they're potentially the lucky ones who have an easier emotional ride through life. But none of them will end up being the latest version of Buffett, Boudreaux or Musk. Feel free to insert a more palatable or relatable to you reference in here. If you have ambition or drive, you're not broken for asking if your chosen path is still right for you. It just means you're human. The 7-year mark just happens to be a common tipping point between contentment and restlessness. That doesn't mean it has to end in disaster. Sometimes it's the moment things deepen, but only if you acknowledge the itch and figure out what it's really trying to tell you. So what's changed? Why are the itches more common now than they were decades ago? Because we're living longer? We're redefining careers, relationships, identity in real time? The old rules, stick it out, suffer in silence, stability over sanity, just don't work anymore. And thank goodness. Who wants to live the same year 70 times and call it a life? You are, after all, not Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. So yes, the 7-year itch is real, but it's not a curse, it's a checkpoint. And if you treat it right, it can be the start of something better. A wise friend and business connection with whom I discussed this recently gave me a great anecdote. I'd been with my then partner for 7 years. Instead of having a 7-year itch, we had a 7-year hitch and got married. This proves that an itch can be a positive catalyst for change, not a negative crash and burn situation. So some reflections. Where in my life am I feeling a bit itchy? Be honest. Is it your job, your relationship, your postcode, or just your hairline? Am I craving change? Or is just craving something? Not all restlessness means it's time to burn it down, but it's worth asking what the nudge is trying to tell you. If I look back, can I spot my own 7-year rhythms? Jobs, relationships, goals? Do you notice a pattern? Don't force it, but don't ignore it either. What parts of my life have calcified into routine instead of evolved with intention? When did autopilot take over? And is it still serving me? Do I feel stuck? Or am I just scared of shaking things up? There's a difference between at a dead end and at being at a crossroads. Have I mistaken comfort for contentment? They look the same on the outside, very different on the inside. What would checking in instead of checking out look like right now? Maybe it's not quitting the job or ending the relationship. It's refreshing the why behind it. Am I expecting one path to keep delivering forever without change? Even a Tesla needs software updates. So do you. Who or what am I clinging to for stability? And is it actually keeping me stuck? People love the version of you that keeps things predictable. That doesn't mean it's who you still are. Am I living the same year over and over and calling it growth? Bill Murray had to live Groundhog Day to change. You just need to notice the itch.